Hello, everyone, and welcome to episode 16. Can't throw up 16 anymore. It's really sad, but episode 20. Oh, we'll be back for episode 20. Episode 16, though. I am Michael Rachel, joined as always with PJ Ellis and Matt Costa. Cool guest again today, man. These guests we've got going are just every guest we have, just Moneyball. Today it's Drew Seers, who is a linebacker at Lindenwood University. Super fun interview. PJ will get into him in a minute. But first, we're now on Spotify, podcast app, Google, whatever that Google Play, I believe it's called, or something like that. I don't have one of those phones, but if you do, whatever that streaming service is, you can watch it there. And then YouTube, of course. So cool. You can go drive, go for a walk, go for a run, and listen to us without having to stay in the YouTube app, because now you can listen to us on our podcast apps. So hey, give us 5 stars and leave us a review so that our reviews go up and we get pushed up in the algorithm. Go follow us and like on Facebook and Twitter at Odd Sports Topics and oddsportstopics.com. That's all the business side. Now, PJ, I'll come to you so you can give us a little bit of an introduction to our interviewee, Drew Seers.
Yeah, we were really lucky to have Drew on today. He is a linebacker at Lindenwood. Is a senior. He's had a great junior season. He had a ton of accolades. I'm going to go over a couple here. First team All-American, Associated Press. Second team All-American D2 football. First team All-Region. Awarded GLVC Player of the Year, GLVC Player of the Week 4 times. Team captain. Ranked second in the country with 13.5 tackles per game. 10th in the nation with 5.8 solo tackles per game. Registered 1.3 tackles for losses. Game to rank 4th in the GLVC. Compiled 175 total tackles and broke, including a new school record for 99 assisted tackles. Set a new school mark with 17 tackles for loss. Tallied 20 tackles against Sanagawa Valley, including 2 tackles for loss. Posted 10 or more tackles in 10 different games, including 700 straight. Registered 14 tackles and a sack against Indy. Posted a season high 3.5 tackles for loss in Quincy and compiled 19 tackles total. He had a beast junior season. There wasn't anything on the football field this guy didn't do. He had a great sophomore and freshman season as well. A couple all teams recognitions in both his freshman and sophomore years. And he's going to look to build on those in his senior season next fall.
Nicely done. He also in high school played linebacker, receiver, running back, kicker, punter, punt returner. I think I got them all. Could be wrong. There could be more. He played basically every position in high school, so that was interesting to talk to him as well. Matt, what was one thing from the interview that you thought was interesting?
I really liked hearing about how Drew went through playing all these different positions in high school, playing a bunch of different roles as a linebacker at the college level, how he's preparing for this season, because it's obviously a weird season where they're playing in the spring this year. But then my favorite part of the interview, hands down, we threw a surprise in there at the end for you guys where we asked Drew a couple combine questions, and his answers are perfect. They're great. So when you get to that, you'll love it.
Yeah, I think my favorite one was PJ's asking him how many 12-year-olds he could beat up in a fight, I believe it was. So make sure you tune in for that answer. That was a great moment. But yeah, thanks to Drew. Go ahead, PJ.
Let us know in the comments below how many 12-year-olds you could beat up at one time. That's very important. We're asking everybody this now, so I need to know how many people in the comments, how many 12-year-olds they think they could take on at one time.
I think for me, it'd be like 2, maybe 3. I don't have faith in myself. They couldn't reach me, though. They couldn't reach me.
I'd say at least 10 because, like, you know, it's just they're 12. But I'm not going to hype myself up to say anything more than like 10 to 15.
I'm going to give myself 10 to 15 until I hit that boss level 12-year-old and tire down.
All right, yeah. So comment below how many 12-year-olds you'd be able to beat in a fight, because obviously that is the burning question here at Odd Sports Topics. But we're going to get to the interview here with Drew. We hope you all enjoy it. Here is our interview with the senior linebacker from Lindenwood University, Drew Seers. We now welcome on to the Odd Sports Topics podcast, the senior linebacker for Lindenwood University, Drew Seers. Drew, thanks for being here today.
Thank you for having me. I appreciate y'all.
All right, Drew. So your sophomore year, you played half the season with a torn labrum, a true football guy, if I do say so myself. Did that torn labrum throw off your game at all, and how are you able to play with torn labrum?
Yeah, so I tore my labrum the 4th game of the season against Emporia, and from then on, it changed the way that I had to tackle, because if I hit anybody with my shoulder straight on, it would pop it in out of socket, and my whole arm would go numb. So I ended up starting to tackle more with my chest, and having to do that was definitely a big kind of change. So it definitely threw me off my game a little bit, but I didn't want to sit out the rest of the season. So we threw a Sully brace on there and just had to keep going. So
I definitely understand that. Did it change the way, like, did you go to punch the ball out more at all, or were you still trying to wrap guys up?
no, I was definitely trying to hit more with my right shoulder than my left. That's for sure. But I was still I would do more of like a bear hug than I would just trying to throw my shoulder into somebody. And what's crazy is it actually became a habit. And then going into my junior year, that's how I was tackling. I'm like, I need to get out of this habit because I would miss tackles or tackle too high. And so I had to change that and get a new habit of going back to my old ways of tackling my junior year.
Drew, in high school at Parkway West, as we were talking before we started recording, you basically never came off the field. You played defense as a linebacker, obviously, but you also played running back, fullback, slot receiver, basically everything. You were even the punt returner, punter, and kicker. What were those games like, and how did you switch your mindset to play the different positions? Because I'm assuming you had to know basically every spot on the field.
Yeah, so those games got tiring. I'm not gonna lie to you. I wouldn't change it any other way, but so I had since I was playing every single play, I always used to cramp like the beginning of the third quarter. Just my body couldn't handle it, and so we got to the point where during the week I was drinking a gallon of water a day, Pedialyte. My parents had to order this some recipe offline that was supposed to deal with cramping that tasted like garbage, and I would take like a shot of that before every game. So I had to deal with cramping. Was the biggest thing. If I could get through a game without cramping, then it was a successful game. But I just kind of had that mindset of that you just need to keep going every single play, that you're not going to come off the field, so don't even try to take a break. And it was just kind of like I got in this mode where almost like my mindset would go numb, where I'm just focused on doing the next thing and the next thing. And, you don't have time to be tired. So I just, with kicking and going to offense to defense, I just kind of locked in and said that for the next 3 hours or so, you're going to be playing every play. So just lock it in and let's go. That was really my mindset.
If there's one place you could get, one position you could get snaps at this year besides the linebacker, what would you want, or would you want to go back to?
Oh, I tell them all the time. I tell the offense, if you want to put a package in for me, I'd love to. I'd love to play some running back and maybe a little slot receiver. But I tell them, I'm like, if you are on the goal line or something, hand me the ball. I'll get you a touchdown. So, well, I don't know if they're ever gonna let me touch the ball again, but I keep telling them that.
Lindenwood, make it happen. I want to see that. Speaking
now.
of Lindenwood, we're going to take you back a little bit to last year. You make the run into the playoffs, new conference, semi-new head coach. Has been there for a couple of years now at that point. And you make that run. It seems that Lindenwood football hadn't been able to get kind of past that stage of, competing for conference titles, but never really making that run into the playoffs. Last year, you guys did that. The school was excited. Take us back to that run, what that meant to you and the school and to the new head coach specifically.
Well, that playoff run meant everything, because when I got here, we went through 2 4-7 seasons, and coming in with the new coaching staff, they knew that to change the culture, that it was going to take a couple of years to do so. So it wasn't an easy path. We definitely had to go through some obstacles, and like I said, the 2 4-7 seasons were tough, but it finally clicked this past year that it wasn't a culture of everyone wanting to be selfish and wanted to do their own thing. It was finally people that wanted to, be in the team and win for the team and not themselves. So, and we started rough. We started 1-3, and then we had like a players only meeting, and like we need to figure some things out. And then we went on, I think it was an 8-game win streak, and then we were able to get in the playoffs and were able to make that run where we beat Ouachita and then got to play Northwest. But I think that playoff run just gave us a huge amount of confidence, especially going into this next year. Like, we can compete with the top teams in the country, and we're confident about that. So leading into this year, that playoff run is going to get us huge confidence, and we want to go a lot further than where we did last year.
So Lindenwood in the most recent polls was ranked in the top 25. So what are your expectations coming into this season, and how do you expect to pick up where you left off from last season?
So my expectations, it's pretty much, I mean, I'd say that it's the same thing for what a lot of people expect, which is to win a national championship, except that is truly my expectation, because going off what we did last year, we've got a handful of new transfers, new players, guys that are going to make a difference. And I don't think that the national championship is a far-fetched dream. It's not realistic. I think we're perfectly capable of achieving something like that. So it's going to be in our preparation and how hard we work and what we plan on doing that elevates our preparation from last year. So I expect to get to the national championship, and I think my team should expect the same thing. But like I said, it's going to remain a dream if we don't change the way that we prepare. We have to elevate and work even harder than we did last year, because if we do the same preparation and stuff that we did last year, then we're going to get the same result. So that's my expectation, and that better be my team's expectation too.
Obviously, we're going to go into this a little bit deeper a little later on. But obviously, with playing in the spring, it's a lot different. It probably changes your mindset a ton of how you approach this season. What do you think is going to be most important when you have this shortened schedule, obviously, to make that push, to make the next steps into the playoffs, having only 4 or 5 games to ramp up for that?
Yeah, so I think this spring is going to be very important, actually. I don't know how many of the older guys are going to get to play in the spring, just because of it's so close to our next season, our actual season. So, but I think it's very important for the transfers and the new guys to be able to get experience and to just see what college football is like. And then in the long run, that's going to help us with our depth and guys just knowing what to do. And if they happen to get thrown in a game later next fall, that they're not completely in shock and they're experienced and comfortable. So, and it's also, so if a lot of the older guys don't get to play, that's going to give us a new perspective to watch like how our defense operates and be able to coach up some of the younger guys and allow us to get more into the playbook and understand it more. So I think for everybody, it's going to benefit them in a different way, but I think it's still going to be very important to our success going into the fall.
At us sports topics, talk about odd things in sports. One of those things is player comps at drafts and stuff. You know, these analysts compare people to some of the stars of the game, and in other industries you don't see accountants being compared to other accountants. So if you had to give yourself a player comp, who would you say your game models best?
So he is not playing currently today. He retired, I think 2 or 3 years ago, but one guy that I really admire and like and try to model my game after is Brian Cushing, who played at the Texans. Just that dude is crazy, and there's something wrong with him in his head. And I believe to play linebacker, you need to kind of have a little bit of that craziness in you. So, and he just plays hard, aggressive, and he's not scared of anybody. So that's who I try to model my game after, and that's a guy that I really looked up to.
As you kind of prepare for the next steps in football, obviously you have another season going next fall, but kind of after that, how will this season affect how you prepare for not only next season, but your steps after your collegiate career?
So this off season, it's almost been basically 2 off seasons just because we didn't play this past year. So it's been almost 2 years, or it will be almost 2 years by the time we play next fall. But I'd say last off season, I guess the time that would have been last off season, it was a focused off season, but I really didn't make the changes that I really wanted to make for my last year of football. You know, I still need to gain probably 10, 15 pounds. I need to get a little faster, more explosive. So that's really what I'm focusing on this off season and making those changes. But because if I'm trying to play after college, I can't be 220, 225 coming out of senior year. I need to have the weight on that would, if I want to play after in the NFL or wherever that's going to be. If that happens, if God's will, but I need to have that weight on and that speed. So that's the changes I'm trying to make right now, so I can carry that through the season and into the off season after my senior year.
Well, if you ever want to look quicker, you can race us, and I'm sure you'd blow right by us. So that'll make you seem faster than you are. But
yeah, you guys probably fast. Don't doubt yourself.
So I want to ask you what you would change as far as rules go. One thing that annoys me in football is just the randomness of spotting the ball from refs, and you're right by that first down marker, and I swear they randomly put it down sometimes. What's one rule change you'd like to see in football?
I'm glad you asked me this because I've been thinking about this a lot, actually. So I agree with the targeting. I think that's an important rule, and I think that should be in the game, just because those hits can put people out forever. But I think the crackback blocks, we need to bring those back, because if it's intentional hitting in the head, then I get it. That's targeting on a crackback block. But the ones when somebody gets an interception and guys are peeling back to block them, I think that's a part of the game. If you're not intentionally trying to hit somebody in the head, but you blindside block them, I think that should be a part of the game. Those were some of the most fun plays to watch when they were still allowed. And now you have to like run by somebody with your hands up, just trying to get in the way. I hate that, but that's the one rule I would bring back.
We saw that yesterday on a kick return by, I can't remember who, but you see his whole convoy's running. It was the Chiefs, Nico Hardman. The whole convoy's running, and they all got their hands up like this.
Yeah.
Flag. It's bad. I'd love to see that.
Hate that.
That'd be pretty good. So,
Drew, let's get your opinion. Let's get your opinion on the Nick Bolton targeting call. I don't know if you watch many Mizzou games or whatever, but I'm sure you heard of or saw the Mizzou Arkansas game where the linebacker just had a great shoulder-to-shoulder hit, gets called for targeting, gets kicked out of the game, gets reviewed, still gets kicked out of the game after one of the cleanest shoulder-to-shoulder hits I've ever seen. Like, how do you explain something like that? And like, does that change your mind as a linebacker? Like, are you afraid to necessarily hit hard because you're going to get called for targeting?
I actually didn't see that play, but I do know who Nick Bolton is and how physical he is. But when you see the huge hits, but you know that are clean, I feel like refs are just they're too quick to throw the flag just because it was a big hit. It couldn't even have been in the head, but just because it's a huge hit, they're like, oh, we need to throw the flag because I don't know, football is getting a little soft, but it doesn't. In the game, I'm really not thinking like, oh, I can't hit somebody that hard just because they might throw a flag, because I'm just like so focused on what I'm doing. But it definitely makes you think, like right after it happens, like, oh, is that going to be a penalty or this and that? But it certainly makes you think more, but it doesn't really change how I play.
Is it same for Division II, targeting call out, ejected? Or is it different?
Yeah, so we actually had against Quincy, our safety Grady, he knocked somebody's helmet off, which, I mean, it was like questionable targeting, because I think his shoulder more went into like his neck area and then it went off. So it might have been targeting, but he was immediately kicked out of the game and then half of next game. So he couldn't play to the second half of next week. But yeah, it's automatic disqualification.
So as a linebacker, you'll basically have to play any position at any given time, or any role at any given time, whether that be rushing the quarterback, playing in coverage, stopping the run. What is it like to have so many different roles while playing one position? And how does that kind of change your mindset as you play?
It's definitely, you have to adjust to whatever your assignment is on that play. I know I'm better at certain areas of linebacker than others. I think I'm a better run stopper and pass rusher than I am at covering, but which is definitely a weakness that I need to get better at. But it is it's very difficult because you got to read run or pass right when the ball is snapped, and then it'd be able to adjust either dropping or stopping the run. So it's definitely, you have to be on your toes and not just assuming that the next play is going to be a run, that you're going to be downhill, but deep in pass coverage. But it's definitely something that you got to be constantly thinking about and reacting to, and also something that I feel like I need to work on, and a lot of linebackers can get better at all those areas of the game.
So Drew, we want to wrap this up with something fun here. We hear stories about some of the questions players are asked at the draft combine. And we want to prepare you for that possibly. So we have some fun draft combine questions for you to ask. So these are going to be quick. We didn't send you these before time, so these are going to be off your head. So be ready. Okay, I'm going to start. What team do you pick in Madden and why?
Listen, I hate to burst your bubble, but I don't play Madden. I don't really even play video games, to be honest. But I'll tell you this. Sorry to ruin it, but when I did play Madden, back in the day, I played with the Falcons and I played with Mike Vick, and I just ran the entire time. So that's what I did.
Fair enough.
All right, now we're getting into weird ones. Oh, Matt, you got the next one. Go ahead.
Yeah. So you're on a bus and you're going through the mountains and you're going 80, 90 miles an hour. Where on that bus are you sitting?
Man, is it 100% sure that it's not falling off the mountain?
We don't know.
We don't know.
All we know now.
if I'm on the bus and it's being this reckless, then I'm in the back with it because I think that'd be the most fun part of the bus. So that's where I'm sitting.
That's fun.
It
I
would
love
be.
that answer. That's good.
All right, so I don't know if you know, but PJ is blind. So can you? He's actually not, but we're gonna say he's blind.
Not
So can
blind.
you describe the color red to PJ?
Oh God. Okay. think warm. Think warm, but not. No, warm. Definitely warm. Like hot. Like as hot as you can get. And that's all I got. I don't know how else you describe the color red to somebody.
I think that was pretty good actually, because I don't know what I would say for that.
That was good.
Would you rather fight one horse-sized duck or 100 duck-sized horses?
One horse-sized duck or 100 duck-sized. Oh man. I would probably fight a horse-sized duck because I don't think they got teeth, so I really don't think they pose much of a threat. So I just get them by the neck and probably take them down, but that would definitely be difficult because I think horses, they're still got a lot of muscle, even if they're little. But yeah, I'm definitely not doing 100 horses.
It's all fun and games until the duck-sized horse starts flying. Then that's
I did not think of. Yes.
I got to follow up. It's a similar question. How many 12-year-olds do you think you could fight at one time? If they're all rushing you at one time, how many 12-year-olds?
I've asked so many people this question. All I know is the first 5 are getting slept. That's all I know. After that, it's going to be, I mean, I don't know. I think, because I've seen people answer this question, they're saying like 40, but I mean, there are some big 12-year-olds. So I think realistically 15 to 20 until I became overwhelmed.
You got to think, you're right. The first 5 are getting knees to the chin. Like they're just getting quick, like knees right there. And then like you probably got 5 more that you can just like slump, like you said. And then after that, like they could gang up on you, take you down your legs. It'd be tough.
It would be. It would get overwhelming. I'm not going to lie.
You never know. They might throw a big 12-year-old at you too. So the boss level 12.
They might the boss level 8th grader. It's like 10 waves of 10 12-year-olds and like one boss level 8th grader every 5 wave or whatever.
All right, we got one more for you. This one's not as crazy, but it's interesting. What is your least favorite song of all time?
Oh my gosh. The I forgot. It's like It's Friday. That one.
Oh
by,
yeah, Carly Rae Jepsen. I want to say
Rebecca Black.
Rebecca Black.
That's Rebecca
Yes.
Black.
Rebecca Black.
Rebecca Black.
Oh my! People were obsessed with that song, and that is the most annoying song ever created. I have to say that one's terrible.
I think we got to intro his interview with the beginning of that song.
It's Friday. Yeah. It's a must now. It's a must.
We wouldn't do that.
Please
All
don't.
right.
Well, Drew, thank you for coming on. We appreciate having you. Good luck on next season and everything after your collegiate career. We will definitely be pulling for you here at Odd Sports Topics. Me as an Lindenwood alumni, and these two is just now Drew Sears fans. So thank you very much for coming on. We appreciate it.
I appreciate y'all. Thanks for having me.